November 8th, 1942. 6 o'clock hours. Richmond, California. The salt-heavy fog rolls off San Francisco Bay, thick enough to swallow the towering gantry cranes of the Permanente Metals Corporation No. 2 yard. Beneath the hazy yellow glow of floodlights, Henry Kaiser, a man who had never built a ship before the war but was now the titan of the industry, chews on a cigar and stares at a vast, empty slipway. Around him, the air is a cacophony of pneumatic hammers, the rhythmic thump-hiss of hydraulic presses, and the blinding ultraviolet flashes of thousands of welding torches. The Germans are sinking them faster than we can think about them. Kaiser mutters to his foreman. It isn't an exaggeration. In the Atlantic, the happy time for U-boat wolf packs is in full swing. Unallied merchant sailors are watching their sisters go down in pillars of fire and oil. And the bridge of ships needed to feed the British Isles and arm the coming invasion of Europe is crumbling. Kaiser isn't just looking to build a ship. He's looking to perform a miracle. To the traditionalists in the Navy Bureau of Ships, a vessel is a handcrafted piece of art, a year-long labor of rivets and wood. To Kaiser, a ship is a product. It is a puzzle of prefabricated steel. He turns to his team, men and women fueled by black coffee and the desperate realization that the war is being lost at sea. We did the Joseph N. Teal in 10 days, Kaiser says, his voice cutting through the industrial roar. The world thinks that's a fluke. They think American labor is soft. Tomorrow, we prove them wrong. We aren't going for 10 days. Oh, we're going for 4. The plan is audacious. It borders on the insane. They aren't going to build the SS Robert E. Peary, a 10,500-ton Liberty ship, on the slipway. They are going to assemble it like a child's model kit. Massive sections, some weighing over 100 tons, are already being welded in sub-assembly shops miles away. At exactly 12:01 a.m. on November 8th, the keel plate of hull 440, the Peary, is lowered onto the blocks. The stopwatch starts. For the thousands of workers, the riveters in their heavy leathers and the veteran steelworkers, the next 96 hours will be a blur of sweat, scorched metal, and the frantic heartbeat of a nation at war. You can feel the vibration in the soles of your boots as the first 40-ton floor section swings through the darkness, guided by the frantic whistles of the signalmen. There is no room for error. If a single weld fails, if a single crane operator misses his mark by an inch, the miracle dies in a heap of twisted iron. November 9th, 1942. 2 o'clock hours. Richmond Shipyard No. 2. The stopwatch has been ticking for 26 hours, and the SS Robert E. Peary is no longer a skeleton. It is a monster rising from the mud. In the glare of the midnight shifts, arc lights, the air smells of ozone, burnt shielding, and the sharp, metallic tang of grinding steel. The yard isn't just a factory. It is a living organism. High above, in the glass-walled cab of a whirly crane, 22-year-old crane girl Mary Sullivan pulls the levers with the precision of a watchmaker. Below her, a 60-ton midship deckhouse, pre-plumbed with copper pipes and pre-wired with electrical conduits, hangs suspended by steel cables as thick as a man's wrist. One slip of her foot on the brake, and dozens of shipwrights below would be crushed into the timber blocks. Easy now, Mary. The signalman's voice crackles over the radio, his hand signals barely visible through the swirling sparks of 500 welding teams working simultaneously. Unlike the old-world method of driving millions of individual rivets, a slow, deafening process, Kaiser's yards have embraced the union of the torch. Electric arc welding is the secret weapon. It allows the Peary to be fused together in massive, prefabricated chunks. On the ground, teams of women in heavy denim, their faces hidden behind dark glass masks, crawl through the double bottoms of the hull. They are tack welding the inner skin, their torches glowing like fireflies in the belly of the beast. By the end of the second day, the impossible is happening. The engine room, usually a labyrinth that takes weeks to fit, is lowered in as a single, completed unit. The massive triple expansion steam engine, already bolted to its bed plates, settles into the hull with a groan of compressing wood. The pace is frantic. A worker drops a wrench. It's replaced before it hits the bilge. A welder runs out of rod. A runner is there with a fresh bundle in seconds. There is no standing around at Richmond number 2. The traditional 24-hour cycle has been compressed into minutes. But the pressure is starting to show. In the mold loft, engineers are frantically checking blueprints against the rapid-fire assembly. If the hull is out of alignment by even a fraction of an inch, the propeller shaft, a 150-foot length of solid forged steel, won't spin. It would turn the Peary into a 10,000-ton paperweight. She's listing 2 degrees to port on the blocks. A foreman yells over the din of a pneumatic chipper. The weight of the boilers is shifting the shoring. The shift leads scramble. If they stop to recalibrate, the 4-day goal evaporates. If they keep going, they risk a structural collapse that could kill hundreds. Kaiser's production at all costs philosophy is being pushed to the breaking point. Amidst the chaos, the hull plating begins to crawl upward, enclosing the ribs of the ship. The Peary is taking shape, a blunt-nosed, gray-painted symbol of industrial defiance. As the sun begins to bleed over the California hills on the morning of the 3rd day, the workers look up. They can finally see the silhouette of a ship where, 72 hours ago, there was only empty air. November 11th, 1942. 1400 hours. Slipway number 2. The countdown has reached its final, agonizing stretch. It has been 86 hours since the first keel plate touched the blocks, and the SS Robert E. Peary is no longer a construction site. It is a ship. But the final 10% is where the ghost in the machine usually appears. The deck is a madhouse of specialized trades. While the scalers are still chipping slag off the hull welds near the waterline, the joiners are topside, bolting down the binnacle and the heavy brass telegraph in the wheelhouse. In the galley, stoves are being bolted to the deck. In the crew quarters, linoleum is being laid, even as the paint on the bulkheads is still tacky to the touch. "Watch the overhead," a rigger screams as a massive crate containing the lifeboats swings precariously over the forward hatch. Below decks, in the humid, cramped darkness of the engine room, Chief Engineer Miller crawls through a forest of steam pipes. He isn't looking at blueprints anymore. He's feeling the vibrations. The massive boilers have been fired up using shore steam to test the seals. If a single gasket blows now, the scalding vapor will turn the engine room into a death trap and reset the clock to 0. "She's holding at 220 pounds. Miller yells, his face smeared with graphite grease. "Start the auxiliary pumps." Outside, the hull is a hive of activity. Painters, strapped into bosun's chairs and dangling from the gunnels, are spraying the iconic haze gray at a furious pace. They aren't using brushes, or if they are using high-pressure spray guns, coating thousands of square feet of steel in minutes. The smell of volatile thinners is overwhelming, mixing with the salt air to create a heady, dizzying cocktail. By hour 91, The shipyard whistle blows a long, lonely blast. It's the signal for the final inspection. Henry Kaiser is back on the pier, his pocket watch out, surrounded by a swarm of Navy inspectors. They look skeptical. In their world, a ship built this fast should leak like a sieve. They move through the holds, banging on the welds with ball-peen hammers, looking for the hollow sound of a bad fusion. They find nothing but solid American steel. As the sun begins to dip toward the Pacific on the fourth day, the final touch is applied. The name Robert E. Peary is stenciled onto the bow in stark white block letters. Onto the gangways are pulled back. The massive wooden shores that have held the 10,000-ton mass upright are being knocked away by shipwrights swinging sledgehammers in a rhythmic, ancient dance. The crowd gathered around the slipway has grown to thousands. There are no speeches, no long-winded dedications. There isn't time. The champagne lady stands on the platform, the bottle trembling in her hand. "I christen thee Robert E. Peary," she cries out, her voice barely carrying over the wind. The bottle shatters. The mechanical triggers release. With a groan of tortured timber and a cloud of smoke from the friction of the grease, the hull begins to slide. It picks up speed, the massive rudder slicing through the air before hitting the water with a roar that can be heard across the bay. The stopwatch clicks shut. 4 days, 15 hours, 29 minutes. A world record that shouldn't exist. A ship that was a pile of raw ore and scrap metal less than a week ago is now floating, alive, and ready for war. But the celebration is short-lived. Even as the Peary is towed to the fitting-out basin, the cranes are already swinging the next keel plate into the empty slipway. The war waits for no one.